Zooey Mama, how's it going, everybody? Here on the screen, we have every single Spotlight week during this September season of Marvel Snap, and I'm gonna go through each one, just give a quick overview of the new cards, talk about the Spotlight week as a whole in terms of how competitive it is and how good I think these Spotlight variants are, and then I'm gonna give my rankings for each one, and at the end, I'll show it in order, number 1 through 4, of what I would prioritize when looking to save your resources for specific weeks. So we will go ahead and get started with this first week that we are currently in, the Silver Sable week. So many of you may have already opened Silver Sable. She is a 1 cost, 1 powered card with the on reveal ability to steal 2 power from the top card of your opponent's deck. Now, she does seem pretty good so far, and she found an immediate home in Bounceless, which is kind of what everyone expected. Okay, nice, fast home there. And she's got a really nice Spotlight week with Mockingbird and US Agent all the way up until September 10th. So let's take a closer look at the Spotlight cache. Here are all of the Spotlight variants, and in terms of being competitive, I think this is a fantastic week. Okay, if you have not already opened Spotlight caches this week, you may want to do so, especially if you do not have Mockingbird. I mean, Mockingbird is just the go-to. I'm sure a lot of you already have opened this week to get Mockingbird, and I hope you were successful in getting her. If not, you still have time. You can still maybe get a key or two. She's just the best card in the game. Okay, she's basically been the best card of the game since she was released. Even after her small nerf, she's just amazing. Okay, US Agent is also a strong card. He's going to vary a bit by the meta, but he's just good to have. And then Silver Sable, she's the new card, so still pretty fresh. You know, we're still kind of figuring out everything, but so far she seems solid. She's definitely not a bad card. Now, in terms of variants, I think these are pretty good variants. The Silver Sable one is nice. The Mockingbird one, I think is fine. Mockingbird does have a couple other really nice variants, but the animations actually are really good. The snowflake behind her spins, and it just looks really nice when it's animated. And the US Agent one is also just a nice variant. It's the only variant you can actually get for him. His other variant that's in the game was also a Spotlight variant, so there's no way to get a US Agent variant from the shop. Now, in just a few days, we will have Madam Web coming into Snap. She's a 2 cost, 1 powered card with the ongoing ability that you can move one of your other cards away from her location each turn. I just put out my video about her yesterday. I think she has a really high ceiling. She's got very good potential. She could take move decks to the next level, but if that doesn't happen, she might kind of flop, okay? So it's going to be interesting to see where she falls. I'm excited for her. I hope she's really good because she does seem really fun, and she's going to be in Spotlights alongside Silk and Alioth, so let's take a closer look at this. So important to note here that Silk is actually a Series 4 card. There are simply just way more Series 5 cards than there are Series 4 cards in Snap right now. So a lot of Spotlight weeks are just all Series 5. This one does have a bit less token value because Silk is only 3,000 tokens herself. In terms of being competitive, it's okay. We don't know where Madam Web is going to fall. She's the new card, so we're kind of excluding her here. Silk is bad. Alioth is good. Okay, so we're meeting in the middle and saying overall this is an okay week for being competitive. If you do not own Alioth, this is a good time to open for him. I don't think he's been in Spotlights since last November. It's been a year since Alioth has come out and almost a year since he's been in Spotlights. So it's actually a really good time to open for him. If you do already own Alioth though, Silk is not worth opening for unless she gets a buff very soon. For the variants here, I also think they're okay. The Madam Web one looks extremely like the base art. It's hard to even tell them apart. That's kind of annoying. The Silk one is fine, but Silk has a lot of really good variants actually. I really like this Alioth one. This Alioth one is carrying the variant rating for me here, so I'm saying it's okay. I'm going to be pretty happy if I'm able to open this Alioth variant. And this is just my friendly reminder to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already so we can keep showing you more great content like this. Now on September 17th, we have Aranya coming into the game. This is my pick for the best card of the season, okay? My prediction before the start of the season, I go through and I rank every card. I had Aranya number 1, so we're going to have to see how she does, but I'm very excited for her release. She's a 1-cost, 1-powered card with an Activate ability, so she will be the second Activate coming into the game with a new card following Symbiote Spider-Man. Activate, give the next card you play plus 2 power and move it to the right. Okay, so it's Activate, you choose which turn it happens, like Symbiote Spider-Man. You're giving it plus 2 power, kind of like Forge, and then you're moving it 1 location over, kind of like Iron Fist. Let's take a look at her Spotlight Week. So on September 17th, Aranya will be in Spotlights alongside Miss Marvel and Sage. So these are all Series 5 cards, which again is basically the norm now in Marvel Snap. It is just hard to find Series 4 cards out there. Now, in terms of being competitive, I think this is okay. It's actually a very similar situation to the Madam Web Week, where Alioth is desirable, Silk is undesirable. Okay, here Sage is desirable, Miss Marvel is undesirable, which is pretty funny because Miss Marvel came out almost a year ago and she was OP. She was insanely good. She was the season pass card. She was nuts. She got nerfed and she's never really recovered. Part of it is the nerf. Part of it is other cards, really strong cards, have just come out and it's kind of been power creep. And we had Zabu get nerfed, which means you couldn't play Miss Marvel on turn 3. So that was a hit. And then lastly, there's just a lot of good Clog cards out there, right? When Miss Marvel came out, White Widow wasn't in the game. We didn't have Kate Bishop getting the Acid Arrow. I mean, Clog really, really hurts you. White Widow's not always too bad because the Widow's Kiss is only a 0-cost card. But Clog stuff is really bad for Miss Marvel. Okay, if your board space gets limited, you end up having to play multiple cards of the same cost on the same location, and you lose her power buff. So she's really taken a hit. It's kind of funny. It's almost hard to, comprehend that she went from being possibly the best card in the game, or at least one of the best cards in the game, to pretty useless. Okay, she just sees no real play. Virtually 0 play. And Sage, on the other hand, is very good still. Sage is seeing a good amount of play. I play her a lot. You can do her in some Surfer stuff. I've been liking her in Mr. Negative decks. She's good in just cheap card decks where you've just got her, Cassandra Nova, maybe Athena, just 2 and 3 cost cards that get really big and strong. She's just good. Okay, she's a powerhouse. So similar thing where if you do not have Sage, I think this is a good time to open for her. Okay, this is her first Spotlight appearance since she was released, and I know some people did not get her on release because they thought she looked boring or she might be bad. She's really good, okay? And I don't think they're going to look to nerf her soon because she doesn't feel like oppressive or, just bad to play against. So I think this is a great time to open for Sage. However, if you have Sage, but maybe you don't have Miss Marvel, you don't need to open just for Miss Marvel. Okay, if you're opening for Aranya and or Sage, great. You don't need to open for Miss Marvel. So competitive, I'm saying it's okay because I'm excluding Aranya, even though I have very high hopes for her. We simply don't know yet. And I'm saying Miss Marvel's bad, Sage is good. We're meeting in the middle. In terms of the variants, I think it's good. I do like this week of variants. I think the Aranya variant is very nice. I do like it more than her base artwork, so that's pretty cool. The Miss Marvel one is good. Miss Marvel has some pretty nice variants. Some of them look kind of similar, but overall they're at a good level, so I don't think this one is necessarily a huge standout, but I think it's fine. And the Sage variant I like. I've seen some people say they don't like it. I've seen some people say they really do like it, but similar to US Agent, the only variant currently in Marvel Snap for Sage is her first Spotlight variant. So you cannot get any variant for her just from the variant shop. Okay, this is your only chance essentially to get a Sage variant for the time being. I don't even think she has any other variants data mined though, so that kind of sucks. But if you want a variant for Sage, you have to do it this way because all she has is 2 Spotlight variants, and this is the second one. So overall, pretty good week. I have high hopes for Aranya, but even without that, having Sage in here just makes it a pretty good week of Spotlights. In the last week of the September season, which starts on September 24th, brings Scarlet Spider to the game. He's a 4-cost, 5-powered card with the Activate ability. Add an exact clone of this to another location. So if he's a 4/5, you press activate, he's going to add another 4/5 clone to one of the other locations. It's going to be random. But if you buffed up Scarlet Spider beforehand, maybe he's a 4/7 or 4/9, he's going to add a 4/7 clone or 4/9 clone to another location. He's going to be in spotlights alongside Scar and White Widow. So let's take a closer look at these nice variants. Now again, we are looking at all Series 5 cards here from the spotlights for September 24th to October 1st. In terms of being competitive, I think this is a good week. There's really nothing bad here unless Scarlet Spider ends up being bad. Again, I'm kind of excluding him. He's the new card. Some people think he's going to be pretty good. Some people think not. We're going to have to wait and see. But Scar and White Widow are both fine pickups. White Widow is one of the best 2-cost cards you can be playing. Okay, she did get a small nerf to the Widow's Kiss, but she's still insanely powerful. She still just takes up a spot on your opponent's side of the board. There's no risk. If they did board fill when you played her, she's just a 2/2. She doesn't, stick a goblin on your side or anything. She's one of the best 2-costs. Okay, she just is. She sees a ton of play. Great card to go after. If you do not already have her, this is her first spotlight appearance since release. This is a great time to get her. And Scar is getting a good amount of value right now, actually. I've been playing him a lot. He's in the really good Big Boys deck, they're calling it. It's kind of like a Big Dumb Idiots deck, but it's got like a Tuma, Scar, Mockingbird, because she's 10 power now, and it's just nice. Okay, so he's more of a card where he will flow in and out of the meta, kind of similarly to US Agent. But this is a good week, okay? There's really no bad hits here, right? Some of the previous ones, like Silk would be a bad hit. Miss Marvel, a bad hit. Scar, you can actually play, okay? You can actually play in a few different decks, and he had some decent value, at least at the moment. So this just looks like a decent week in terms of being competitive. Depending on how Scarlet Spider does, that might change. We'll have to see how he performs. In terms of variants, I think they're also good. I like the Scarlet Spider variant. I like the Scar variant. I think it's cool how he's coming out of the card. He's looking super ripped, but kind of, mean and scary. And the White Widow one is pretty nice. I think none of these variants are, insane, amazing, but I think they're all good. I'd be happy to own any of them. So overall, this just looks like a very nice week to end the September season with. Now, to give my rankings for the Spotlight weeks for the September season, I think at number 4, I've got this Madam Web week, okay? Again, I think Silk really, really drags this down. If you already have Alioth, I don't think there's value here for you unless you're chasing after Madam Web with the spotlights, okay? So we'll see how she performs. If she ends up being really good, then that really helps out this week because then you have Madam Web and Alioth to chase after if you don't already own him. If she doesn't end up being very good, then that's, potentially 2 dead cards. Silk is probably the worst card in this entire season, okay, in spotlights. So that really drags it down for me. My number 3 pick, I'm going to give it to the Aranya Miss Marvel Sage week. A bit similar to the previous one where I think Sage brings it up, Miss Marvel drags it down. I don't think Miss Marvel is as bad as Silk. I could see potential where she starts seeing a bit of play in the right meta, and I think the variants here are just nicer. Again, the Madam Web variant looking so similar to the base art kind of kills it for me. So I think card value relatively the same, maybe a little bit better, but the variants definitely are better. My number 2 week for the season is the last one, Scarlet Spider, Scar, and White Widow. Again, we're going to have to see how Scarlet Spider performs. He seems pretty fun, at least, regardless of, how competitive he ends up being. But I think White Widow, great 2-cost card. Scar is a fine card to pick up. The variants here are nice. There's really nothing to hate about this week. And number 1 is the week we are currently in because Mockingbird is one of the best cards in the game. It's a good variant. US Agent, I think, is a bit underrated. There's a lot of top players who did not have him when he was originally released. So I think now coming out, players getting him, he could see some real play. And once that starts trickling down from these top meta players to the rest of the player base, he could be a staple in some decks and definitely in the right meta. And it's also just a good variant. And then the Silver Sable so far seems like a good card, okay? And definitely in Bounce, you've seen a lot of play. Even outside of that, it seems like you can kind of just use her as a go-to one-cost card and to add a little bit of value there. So I do think this first week that we are currently in is the best value unless Mockingbird gets nerfed. And then I think it skips all the way forward to the last week, okay? And again, I'm excited to see how Madam Web performs, how Aranya performs, how Scarlet Spider performs. So this is going to vary by your collection, you know, depending on which cards, existing cards you already own or don't own. Some of these weeks might be a bit better or worse for you. So make sure you're taking into account your own collection, okay? Now let me know in the comments which of these weeks you think is the best and the worst, if you agree with my rankings here or if you have it a different way around. Until then, stay positive. I'll see you next time.